Hello, welcome to the Three Orcs channel. My name is David, and today we're going to cover the township of Penwick in the Viscounty of Verbobonc. As you can see on the map here, Penwick is located just southeast, about 14 miles from the city of Verbobonc, south of the Valdiva River. I created this map of a more zoomed-in view of the eastern part of the Viscounty because in my campaign, the party's first adventure takes them east past the Fens of Tor. I'll scroll to the right here, and as you can see, the minor roads take them through Penwick, past Osbury Manor, some farms, a small town called Anshan, which I created myself on the edge of the swamp. Then they cross the swamp into the gnarly forest. In my campaign, the idea is to flush out each village in the Viscounty of Verbobonc for the players to adventure in the Temple of Elemental Evil. The idea is for the Temple of Elemental Evil not to exist in a vacuum, so it ends up just being a slog, a dungeon crawl, but the players actually interact and live in the world around it. I made sure that the campaign scope was wide enough to cover all the players' characters and classes. As I mentioned previously in my videos, the Temple of Elemental Evil needs support for its growth, for its revenue, its resources, and manpower, and recruiting efforts. Assistance must come from somebody with enough resources at their command to assist the temple in its growth. My idea was one of the lords, or maybe a rich merchant from the city of Verbobonc, is assisting the temple. The temple receives resources up and down the Emridy's run that comes from the Valdiva River. Pirates and merchants ply their trade up and down the run from the Valdiva River. Piracy is at a high, which takes it all the way down through the Fens of Tor to Nolb to the south. The roads leading to Nolb from east and west, from the Wild Coast to the east, with merchant activity, resources, and slave trade. And to the west, they conduct raids on passing merchant caravans with the cover of the gnome troubles in the Cron Hills. And that's where the T1 module comes into play. So, about Penwick. So let's look at the big map, Anna Meyer's map here. Lord Malinius' lands are to the north of Penwick. So all the way up to the road where Castle Greyfist is, down to Penwick, and as far east as the Fens of Tor. Fulhurst Moors, another village that I created, is in Lord Malinius' lands. The high road, which runs south along the Knives Run, down to Etterbook, and then east from Etterbook all the way to the Fens of Tor. South of Penwick, and including Penwick, is Lady Osbury's lands, Lady Eleanor Osbury. In my campaign, I decided to put the border right there in Penwick. So it's a contentious area where Lord Malinius is trying to gain her lands, and they're constantly vying for political power. And down south in Sinega Valley, Lord Malinius has an inn there, but that's firmly in Lady Eleanor's lands. The township of Penwick is on House Malinius and Lady Eleanor's lands. It's situated in the fertile lands of the southeastern plains. Many small creeks and natural springs provide ample water for the region's homesteads. The township is divided into a patchwork of farms, each owned by a vassal of the mayor of Penwick. So you can see from the map, Emridy Meadows comprises most of this area. I placed Emridy Meadows roughly around Osbury Manor, which is east of Penwick. This area around Penwick is the breadbasket of the Viscounty, where the most fertile farms exist and supply produce for the entire region. So let's go ahead and look at the article itself. I created the Penwick map using Wonderdraft, using Forgotten Adventures, Tom Cartos, and Gogot sprite objects. As you can see, there's a few minor streams running through my map of Penwick. In these lands, there is a lot of streams, and they're not going to be on the bigger maps. So I'm always including them in the more blown up maps of like the villages. Okay, let's go ahead and look at the article for Penwick. The township of Penwick is on the border between House Osbury and House Malinius. I chose House Osbury's lands to extend into Penwick itself. Griffin Manor is located in Penwick. Anything north of Penwick is on House Malinius' lands. So the holdings are situated in the fertile lands of the southwestern plains. There's many small creeks and natural springs that provide ample water for the region's homesteads. The township is divided into a patchwork of farms, each owned by a vassal of House Bellinius or House Osbury, which is governed by the Mayor of Penwick. Many rows of trees across the countryside, delineating the boundaries of each farm, the only urban center of the small town of Penwick itself. Situated away from both the high road and the low roads, the town sees very little commercial trade, or business. What excess foodstuffs exist are sold by the mayor of the Viscounty of Verbobonc to the Viscounty of Verbobonc to support the city's high demand. Let's see. So House Bellinius and House Osbury's heralds are on the right. A description is that Mayor Connor Grantham of Penwick is best described as a tired man. He's 60 years old. He has held his office for almost 30 years. He rarely makes an appearance in Verbobonc and prefers to leave political matters to his eldest son, Galsitz. Some of this information for Penwick I gained from the Living Greyhawk modules, the adventures that they wrote back in the early 2000s. They never actually created this town, but they created a few of the NPCs and they mentioned the location. So I kind of extrapolated from that information and created the town. So that way people like myself can use the township of Penwick in our campaigns. Penwick was overrun by forces from the Temple of Elemental Evil during the conflict a score of years ago, and most of its citizens were slain by the ruthless humanoid hordes. After the temple's defeat, Connor offered free land to all those who would become his vassals. Many of the militia and mercenaries decided to follow him, and they now make up the bulk of the township's citizenry. It is from their lowly origins that the township gained its nickname of the Low Country. Though the township is economically quite poor, it is perhaps the strongest militarily, as nearly all its freemen are veteran soldiers or their children. The town was never fully recovered from the elemental wars. The mayor would like to erect fortifications along the Emridy's Run and the foothills of the Edders. However, money is scarce and going is slow. Furthermore, river pirates, ettercaps, and roving bands of humanoids make the venture very dangerous indeed. To aggravate matters more, a green dragon has recently moved into the area and begun preying on the livestock. Connor would greatly appreciate the help of any band of adventurers that could help him deal with these threats. These will be optional things that a DM could put in their campaign. I kind of sidelined the Green Dragon idea in my campaign because I already have one fully developed in the Fens of Tor, a black dragon, being worshipped by the lizardmen there. I put a town of lizardmen in the Fens of Tor as well. So, centered on the village green, the village houses the lord's tenants, freemen, farmers, and serfs, villains, half-villains, cotters. They work the lord's lands. On this manner, more serfs than normal are cotters, who works on the lord's domains, called familia. These are agricultural workers are paid 1 silver per day plus a noon meal and ale. Resident craftsmen provide additional services not available within the manor. On either side of the green are tofts where the villager's house is built, with a croft behind, vegetable and animal pens. The village is larger than average and appears prosperous and well-run. So, in addition to keying the village, I added a list of NPCs from Raging Swan Press, just to throw in there when I need them. When the adventurers travel or stop in town, I'll have some NPCs ready to go. So let's go ahead and go over every single location here. So we'll start off with the Market Square and Tower. As you can see here on location 1 is the Market Square and the tower itself. The center of Penwick, where the long road meets the Merchant's Way, is a huge open space used as a market by local farmers and visiting peddlers. Dominating the space is a 3-story guard tower, a stone keep that leans decidedly to the east. Hanging above the entrance is a dusty banner of the Lord Protector of House Colgrim, which depicts a black griffin on a field of azure. Lord Colgrim is a minor lord in the Viscounty, and he's beholden to Lord Bellinius. So there's a few campaigns where he's involved further down in the quest line. So I placed him here. The regular militia wearing House Osbury tabards patrol the town, the roads that lead between the outlying ranches, and the roads in and out of Penwick. So, that means that this town is firmly in control of Lady Eleanor, and anything that happens along in the town or in the ranches or along the roads in and out of Penwick is the responsibility of Lady Eleanor's House Osbury, and you'll have to deal with them and their guards. Lord Melinius has a presence there, and he does have his own guards, but none of these are their responsibilities. But you can encounter them as well. But they do behave themselves because they are a lawful household and a noble house on the Council of Lords. So if needed, Mayor Connor Grantham can muster a well-armed militia of 50 in one night, and 300 by high noon the next day. Mayor Connor also has the authority to draft mercenaries and adventurers as needed. I'm not so sure about the 300 by high noon the next day, so let's go ahead and take a look at that article again. It says here the population is 94, so that seems a little bit odd. You know, I got these numbers from websites that, or the world of, I got these numbers from websites that actually populate the world. And I can see that there would be a 94 population in town, and I suppose there'd be a lot more in the surrounding countrysides from the farms. So you could probably recruit those stable hands and sons of farmers and their fathers from the ranches in the area. So I can see that. But I guess it'll only take them a day to do that. So it must be pretty quick. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to the next location. I'm going to go ahead and, to keep it easier in the video, I'm just going to go in order here. So we'll go to P10, Northside Manor. And I'll scroll down a little bit for you so you can get a good bearing. So it's a good size home. North Shield House is a fine local inn. It's stately, clean, quiet. Green awnings, flowering ivy tendrils adorn the outside of the squat little inn, and warm laughter burbles out from the open window. The brightly colored sign above the doorway proudly proclaims that the North Shield Inn and depicts a hand-painted shield with a chest armor piece painting. The wood panels of the exterior are weather-worn but clean, indication of the love and care of which the place is maintained. So we have a description of the outside of the building, another one on the inside of the building with roasted potatoes and ale. The owners, Ursula Miltimer, is a retired adventurer. She bought the inn from the Forndale family a little over 10 years ago, after her wife vanished into the Welkwood on an expedition. So we have that description here. Number 11, located right here, just north of the Merchant Square to the right. A skilled harness maker named Olive lives and works here, making the finest elk skin harnesses in the Viscounty. He hunts the elk, keeps their skins, and sells the rest to House Melinius and, of course, House Osbury. So his harnesses have an elaborate designs pressed into the leather, and his work is popular among Verbobonc nobles who enjoys horseback riding. He hails from the Verbobonc family, House Hacks. Olive never speaks of his past or his family, has no interest in describing how he ended up as a shop owner in Penwick. Then we have a secret background. Okay, the next one is the Church of St. Cuthbert in Penwick. The center of community life. The church is built of stone, sturdy but rather plain. Gustav Lagerfeld, canon of St. Cuthbert, holds regular services here on holy days. So we have a description of all that. Number 12 is located to the west of the marketplace. And it's a prominent building here with a lot of vegetation and trees. Okay, the next one is the Church of the Gentle Hand, number 13. This church is dedicated to Zodl, the flang god of mercy, hope, and benevolence. Zodl is a servant of Reo. So Eli Lagervist is the high priest, and only a few wandering priests are seen on staff. She wears gray robes, good in services, the cost of curing diseases and minor wounds and things like that. I created the holy symbol here on the right because there was none available, so I decided to modify a picture I found, and I'm using that as my holy symbol in my campaign. So 13 is located to the north of the marketplace, right there, which is located just south of Lord Melinius's manor, Griffin Manor. After 13 is number 14, called Six Windows. And after 14 is 15, House Colgrim. House Colgrim is located in the southwest part of the village. The manor sits on a rise with its own stables. So built on a ridge that overlooks the rest of the town, the manor houses a large 3-story structure with an outer wall and gatehouse. The gatehouse is manned with several warriors. This mansion belongs to the Right Honorable Sir Arent Colgrim and Lady Colgrim, beholden to Sir Melinius. House Colgrim, a minor noble vassal to his most honorable Sir Melinius. Ever since his father, a retired captain of the mounted borderers, had recently passed away, his unbridled arrogance and sense of self-importance have won him no friends in Penwick. Moreover, he poorly administers his lands, wasting many of his resources, and he hires an increasing number of mercenaries. As a vassal to Lord Melinius, he supports Melinius to combine both lands under his lordship. He feels Lady Eleanor is too young and naive to care for her lands. So this is pretty important part of the plot of my campaign, which will come to fruition later on. After 15 is 16, the Church of the Shining One. The Church of the Shining One is dedicated to Pelor. It's a modest rectangle building. As this is the only chapel dedicated to Pelor in the Eastern Viscounty, Bishop Lemos is having a tough time gaining followers from the Church of St. Cuthbert and Zodel. This chapel is located just northeast of the marketplace. Right there. So 17 and 18 are smithies. They're across the way from each other in front of Lord Melinius' manor. The Hilltop Smithy across the road from Fohammer's Forge is run by Harriet Oldenath, the great-granddaughter of the establishment's founder. Harriet has known Gilrin Fohammer since he was a child, and the two are friendly rivals. So she sells fine weapons, stamped with the family glyph, so they have increased value. They're more expensive here. And then number 18, across the way from her, Gelrin Fohammer makes fine weapons, armor, and other metalworks. He's getting a bit long in the tooth for a daily grind of metalsmithing, so he's looking for a skilled apprentice. And he serves House Melinius and goes on to talk about how he hates orcs and giants. During the hateful wars in the Cron Hills, he obtained reports of orcs and giants attacking dwarf holdings throughout the Lort Mills. Many times he wanted to take up arms and travel north to join the war, but he restrained himself because he had a business to run. But if giants do attack the Viscounty, he refuses to stand back and idly watch. So this is a useful NPC to have in the future when things like this occur in the campaign. And like I mentioned before, there are many things in my campaign that's happening besides the Temple of Elemental Evil dungeon itself. There are far-reaching tendrils of activity from the temple that involves other organizations in the area. The next location is the Northern Caravan Campground P2 and P3. And those are located to the northeast along the main road here by the river wash. Traveling merchants that come through Penwick have a place to camp with their wagons and their tents. Okay, so now we're going to go on to P20, which is Mayor Connor's estate farm. So that one is located to the southeast of Penwick on the way out to Osbury Meadows, which is south here. This is a large manor with its own barn. So this road runs right past through Osbury Meadows and onto Osbury Manor. So number 20 is so I got some artwork for it. It matches the general shape of the building on the map. This is a large walled manor, residence of the mayor, the hereditary leader of the township of Penwick, Connor Grantham, his wife Beatrix, and his oldest son and heir, Gilshich Grantham. The once grand house shows signs of repair that do not quite match the quality of the original structure. In fact, the entire village has this worn appearance. The manor house was constructed under the direction of a skilled mason. Stone walls are straight, level, plumb. As a result, they're exceptionally tight, strong, and draft-free. The wood is all old-growth oak. Single pieces are used whenever possible. It talks about the windows, the glass, the roof, fireplaces and such. And then I have a description of each room. And I have secret areas in the manor outlined. The domain is a land. I have a description of what a domain is and what it means here. Then we have more description of the outer yard and different places and different. Then we have a description of the outer yard, like the barn and the garden and the slaughterhouse and the salting vegetable gardens and stuff like that. So we're going to scroll back up here, and we see that, and you'll see that he's owned by House Osbury. Connor, we'll take a look at him, since he is the mayor of Penwick. As described as a tired man, 60 years old. He held his office for almost 30 years. He rarely makes an appearance, and Verbobonc prefers to leave political matters to his oldest son, as I said before. So he's 48 years old. Okay, further along here, we got a bakery, which is described inside and out in the price of goods. As you can see listed here. So a loaf of wheat is 15 copper. And then the next location is the graveyard, number 22. We'll take a look at that in the map. And it's the southwest of the village itself before you get to the manor here on the hilltop. At the south end of town is an old cemetery where many of Penwick's first settlers are buried under the weather-worn headstones. The oldest graves are located on a plot of land enclosed by an unpainted picket fence. In another section to the east, soldiers and heroes lost during the Battle of Emridy Meadows War. Get a description of the landscape, and then at nighttime a description, what it's like to be there at night. And then we got a grave digger that you could meet there. So after the graveyard is number 23, the apothecary. I have a description of what it looks like there and items that are sold. Tarmac Feliscur sells herbal medicines and salves of questionable efficacy. In addition to herbs and salves, Tarmac sells sweet water for a gold piece a flask. The sweet, naturally carbonated water bubbles up from a tiny spring in the shed by her cottage. Tarmac makes most of his money selling the water to the proprietors of the Pleasing Platter. Sells most of it to the Pleasing Bakery. I renamed it. The next is P24, the Druid's Grove. This is a fairly important place here in the village. So that would be located all the way to the east along the road, going to the Fulhurst Moors. We'll zoom in there. Number 24 has a little cottage among the grove here. Gardy is the local druid of Buri, the Lady of Autumn. The core of the old faith is Buri, the Earth Mother, is said to visit the mystical forest. Rangers who venerate the Buri or Obadhaya come here for inspiration. So we have an appearance. His appearance is a long, braided hair tangled with leaf and twig. The fur-garbed druid regards a steel breastplate. His face, painted with striking blue designs, contorts in a pained focus. His gaze passes over the gleaming armor again and again, some inner battle waging behind his creased brow. So that's not really a description of him, but it's a description of what. It's a description of kind of what he looks like, plus what he's concerned with at this moment. Something's going on with his breastplate, and that's something for the DM to develop, if you want. I just added it there because I thought it sounded cool. So, to avoid angering the druids, the law in Penwick forbids cutting any wood from the trees or hunting any creatures in this woods. Many of the trees in this grove are trapped in a perpetual autumn state, and leaves in dazzling shades of yellow, oranges, and red. So to further detail that line of thought I had about the breastplate, what's going on with him, he'll say, "And why not wear it? My father toiled in that forge while I ran off into the forest, leaving him alone with my mother. But now, as his last act on this earth, he leaves me this. Something to keep me safe on adventurers I thought he despised. So damn my creed. What are some ancient superstitions when compared to the true love of a forgiving father? This is not some simple breastplate. This is the last embrace of a man I shunned all too quickly, a man who deserved a more loving son. Embrace my father." So this could be a turmoil thing that's going on with him, if you want to use it or not. I found it a little bit interesting. Give him some personality. So further down is more plot leads I developed in case it's needed in the campaign for the players to interact with. So Gardy is a human druid, 5th level. He's got his stats here. His primary He's got some primary motivation. He has a problem with the smithy, so that can be developed in the campaign too. Not in exactly this way, but I give you an idea of what you might want to use it for. So let's see. We keep going past the Druid Grove into the marshalling field. So the marshalling field, P25, is located to the direct west on the way to Verbobonc. It's the area that the Melissa of Penwick uses for drill practice and training. So the next one after that, then we have the Happy Horse Ranch, which is number 4. So number 4 is located in the northwest of Penwick, which is on the way to Verbobonc City, the main road here. Basically, it's a farm. It's a ranch for horses. The Carnveller family raises, trains, sells, and stables horses. 3 large buildings stand on the property, 2-story log house, detached outhouse. Janelle Carnveller is the family matriarch, a feisty middle-aged widow which enjoys the company of horses more than people. She has 3 adult sons named Aldo, Hingo, and Rasco, all whom are members of the town militia. So this is a good place for players to purchase horses. Next one is Wainwright's Wagons, P5. That's located northeast of town on the way to Gargill. A long-time fixture in Penwick, Wainwright's Wagons have its own horse-driven sawmill, large building for lumber storage. The establishment originally catered to the wealthy elite by crafting the finest, most expensive wagons in the Viscounty. The current owner, Tusker Wainwright, is more interested in profit than quality. Lacking the carpentry skills of his ancestors, he relies on underpaid apprentices to assemble wagons that have little better than the ordinary. Yet they cost 5 times as much. The Wainwright brand name is the only thing keeping the establishment in business for now. All right, so after number 5, we got Griffin Manor. Griffin Manor is located just north of the marketplace, which is a large building here along the main road. This house is House Millennius estate home, which dominates the center of Penwick. From the outside, it looks stately, regal. Timber and thick hardwooden logs make up most of the building's outer structure. It's impossible to see through the stained glass windows. House Millennius guards stand guard at the front door with messengers, officials, and family coming and going from the manor. So, I put a placeholder here for our manor in case it's needed, in case the players ever have to enter it. So the next one after that, the next location, P7, Ranchers Open Road. This establishment once sold feed and caravan supplies, as well as services of caravan guards. Its owner passed away many years ago, and the business has been closed ever since. The yard is a riot of weeds, and the buildings have become havens for rats and other vermin. Locals have removed most of the wooden shingles from the rooftop, using them to replace their old shingles on their rooftops. So this is an open building that could be used by the players in the future. Maybe they can purchase it. The next is P8, the Cart and Coin. So that is they sell and swap horses and draft animals, and also deals in feed, horseshoes, and gear. P8 is located just off the marketplace to the south. So the owner is a married couple named Arn and Serene Widdens. They have 4 young children, employ half a dozen workers to feed and exercise the animals, clean the stables, and replace horseshoes. The last one is Snips Leather and Hides. So this shop smells strongly of chemicals and animal flesh. Large copper and iron vats bubble and boil, give off plumes of harsh gas. So the shop is the village leather worker. He crafts boots, jackets, cloaks, pants. So I placed number 9 far to the east on the way to the Druid Grove. So that completes the review of the township of Penwick. This is the 4th video in the Village series in the Viscounty of Verbobonc. I plan to make more. If you have any requests, please put that comment below, and I'll look at that village and see if I can't develop it and make a video for it. I'm also planning in the future to create one for the city of Verbobonc as well, each district, and also the history, the laws, and the politics of Verbobonc as well. So thank you for watching. If you'd like to support my channel, please click on the link for my Patreon down below, or just click like, and that will do much for my channel. Thank you, and have good times gaming.